Best of our / Tales from Retail episode 47. So this happened yesterday. TLDR at the end. We got hit with a cold snap this week. Extreme cold warnings. Frostbite in minutes. It's -50°C with the wind chill about -39°C without. About midday this couple comes in very concerned about a dog they saw in the parking lot. A car had been left with its front door open, not running with a dog sitting in the passenger seat. Not a husky or cold weather breed. So we make 2 announcements. Go check on the dog. Try to bring him inside. Very skittish. Not super friendly, so instead we go and ask everyone in our building if he's theirs. The car was parked in our lot, so it was very reasonable for us to believe the customer was in our building. It's been 15 minutes already. No owner in a sight. So we call Animal Protection Services, APS, and they're on their way. As we're waiting for the APS, a man comes through the till. He's a regular and mentions briefly that his dog is in the vehicle. We explain that we've called the services and he should go to his car. Starts by saying it's foolish to be worried about a dog, and that we shouldn't have called APS. We answer by saying that it's currently -50 with extreme cold warnings in effect and it's been over 30 minutes now. Ends up trying to argue for longer as we keep saying to go to your car. He gets there just as Protection Services comes up and they end up taking it from there. All of us at the store are dog owners, so super invested and care about dogs, and this was just, oh, we were upset. TLDR. Customer gets angry, we call Animal Protection after he leaves his dog in the car for over a half hour in -50°C weather. Thank you. Next. English is not my first language, etc. TLDR at the bottom. Please tell me how I did. Some background. I work in a huge supermarket on weekends. I started at the cash registers and kind of worked my way up to work at the customer service desk, without getting any pay rise or anything, but that's another story. And now to the main actress of the story, a really old and fragile Italian lady. I will call her Nonna, N. N approached the desk and started with some small talk with me and congratulated me on my promotion. After the small talk the conversation went like this. N. So I bought this melon and it is rotten from the inside. Proceeds to take out the melon from the cart to show me. Oh, I am really sorry to hear about that. Do you have a receipt with you? N. Gives me the receipt. I looked at the receipt and, I kid you not, she bought the melon more than a month ago. I was kind of shocked that someone wants to bring back fresh fruits, which she bought more than a month ago. But since I like Nonna, I kind of let it slip. UHH. As I can see you bought the melon last month. I am pretty sure I do not have to refund you your money, but I will allow you to take another melon for free today. N. I always get a refund with your colleagues. Why can't you give me one? I was shocked again. What kind of person tries to keep fresh and cut a slices watermelons fresh for more than 2 weeks, and expects to get her money back? I am sorry if you feel like this, but there is nothing I can do. I will gladly call my boss and he can for sure help you better than I do. N got upset, walked away from me and proceeded to get another melon, which was right in front of the desk, and left the store. This was the moment our wonderful relationship kind of broke and we became enemies. I asked my boss regarding this topic and he told me to always give them the money back if they have a receipt and the packaging, because if management gets involved the customer is always right and gets a refund anyways. I never ever questioned the customers again and always gave back the money without making a fuss, just with Nonna. Last Saturday Nonna came back again and unfortunately for her, I was working at the desk. N. I bought these blueberries yesterday and there was one foul berry in the packaging. Proceeds to show me a picture she has taken of the berry and puts the single empty packaging on the shelf. Okay, no worries. Please show me the receipt and I will refund you the money. N. Hands me the receipt. Made the transaction and gave her back the money for the pack of blueberries and see that she bought 3 packs in total and knew she will not be pleased with my decision. I am sorry that this happened. Here is your money back. N. You just gave me back the price of 1 pack. I want the money for all the packs back. Oh, I am sorry. I am not allowed to refund money without at least the packaging. You did not even bring back the other packs, so I assume they were good enough to consume. Something stupid I said in my rage, but this somewhat got her banned. N. I have thrown the empty boxes into the trash bin outside. You can get them. At this point I was really pissed but still left on my customer service smile. Me, oh if that's so I will call someone to take it out the trash with you. I called my boss, B, to come up to the desk because I was not sure if I am allowed to refund the money for everything. He showed up and I explained the situation to him. B, it is okay, just give her the full refund back if she gets the boxes. It is not worth our time. Me, if you say so, but could you please go with her to take it out of the trash? I need to guard a desk. I really did not want to go through the trash bin. That's why I asked and my boss accepted and went downstairs with Nona. After more than 30 minutes he came back and told me to call the police. Me, of course, what happened? B, Nona just told me that was throwing her private garbage into our trash bins, for a long time. I tried to tell her that this is illegal in our country and she has to pay for garbage removal like anyone else and she does not understand. I told her she is not welcome here anymore and started punching me. As I already said, a really old Italian lady. She could not possibly harm my boss in any way with her body. Me, okay, we'll call them right away. In the meantime, she came back to the desk furiously and started to scream and threaten me and my boss that her husband will come and beat us up. We just kind of ignored her and waited for the police to show up. We explained everything to the police and they took her with them. We had to submit our video footage and she was banned, not only from us, but by the police as well to enter our store ever again. TLDR. Italian food waster granny was throwing out garbage illegally and got banned. Edit. Forgot the last sentence. Edit 2. Messed up. Cleaned up. Thank you. Next. As the title implies, this is going to be about my worst customer. I work at a general store with a few odds and ends in it, slicing meat and making sandwiches. TLDR at the end. Late one evening of working, I had just gotten through a rush of making hoagies, slicing meats and cheeses on a slicer, and having a good time talking with my regulars. Everything is a mess, so I start cleaning and putting things away, saving the slicer for last. For any of you who know how messy those can get after cheese and multiple meats, I am sure you understand the time and effort into a complete clean on these. In walks who I now know to be a grader Karen. As such, that shall be her name for this story. I do my usual greeting of hello. Need help finding anything? She replies with yes. I would like a half pound of your smoked turkey breast sliced as thin as possible. I inform her of the weight as I was still in the middle of cleaning the slicer itself. After a few minutes she starts to get visibly grumpy. Why are you taking so long? Why do you have to clean it? It's just going to get dirty again when you slice my turkey. I sigh as it should be obvious, and proceed to explain as simply as possible that it would cross-contaminate her food and the rest of the meat being saved if I sliced it with an already dirty surface. This seems to calm her down, so I finish the job as fast as possible. I then warn her that if I slice turkey as thin as possible it will just be a chip mess. She replies with, yeah whatever, just do it. I go ahead and start to slice, and as I warned, it was a chip mess. As soon as she is able to see the produced chips she starts to complain in true Karen fashion. Why is it in a mess? I said to slice it as thin as possible. I replied with this is as thin as possible. I tried to while I was interrupted. No, I wanted slices. Ugh, this happened so many times before. Who can I contact to get this fixed? No, this doesn't happen all the time. As I know from future information, this is only the second time she has been here, and the first time was for cigarettes only. I just say okay, take a business card from the table there, it has both my boss's numbers on it, and let me redo this then. I start to pack up the shreds as that is what we use for our sandwiches, so a tad extra won't hurt. What are you doing with that? It's just going to be thrown out. I will take it. I then reply with the malice I have been enduring from her with the best customer service voice I can muster. No, it won't be wasted, don't you worry about that. Now just give me a minute to get a better setting for this. She is fuming, but stays silent for the rest of the time I am slicing. She then gets some cigarettes after with a bit of a huff and puff because she can't remember what kind she gets, then leaves. One of the bosses said next time she throws a tantrum she can be told to leave at the first signs. She comes in acting high and mighty every once in a while, but nothing I can't let go. Dumb Karen, am I right? TL. Dr. Karen gets mad that turkey falls apart when sliced thin. Now can be kicked out at any time. Edit. First time poster. Go easy on me. D. Edit 2. Fixing some mistakes. It was after work when I typed this late at night. Sorry. Thank you. Next. So fair warning. This is a bit of a long story as it occurs in fits over a period of about 2 years. So settle in. I was working at a now defunct electronics and computer retailer that liked red. I was working as the returned supervisor. So the first part of the story, my store went to transfer a decently sized TV to another store. In the process of it being shipped, the shipping company dropped it, effectively destroying it. What should have happened is the receiving store should have accepted it, put it in damaged inventory and filed a freight claim on it. What they actually did was refuse shipment, which means it got sent back to us. Now this company was using inventory management systems from the early 90s. This was in 2006. And one thing you couldn't do below the store manager level was cycle things into the inventory. And since this TV wasn't being transferred to us, all we could do was notify the store manager to have him cycle it in, and then file a freight claim, and once that was done, destroy the TV. So we got the TV back, and it goes into this kind of weird ether inventory if we physically have it, but logistically we don't have, but we did have it originally. So take the TV, file the paperwork, and shove in a back room until we see that the freight claim had been paid. The only person at the store level who could see if the specific freight claim had been paid was the store manager. So cue the second headache of the story. This is where we entered a period of about 14 months where we simply could not keep a store manager for longer than 5 months. They would either be fired, transferred, or promoted after a couple of months. So checking to see if a $400 freight claim has been paid just wasn't especially high on the priority list at the time. So we've gone through like 5 GMs at this point. The TV is still sitting there. All we need to know is if the claim has been paid and acknowledged. We would later find out it would take about 3 minutes for a store manager to get that particular answer. We get what would turn out to be our third to last store manager. The company itself closed 18 months later, and after reading this story, I think you will see why. The company itself was at that point just before it starts realizing that it's on the edge of folding. You know, not quite at that point where they start closing underperforming stores, but if you're looking at the numbers you would know that it's being talked about. The manager we had at this point was trying to wring every penny out of everything he possibly could through every means he could. Well, he found the TV that wasn't actually in our inventory, and we couldn't sell it, and decided that getting $800 for it was a great idea. Remember how I said the TV was $400 before? No, I'm not stuttering here. He wanted to get the freight claim paid for the TV, and then have me process a return on the TV so we would get what we originally paid to the manufacturer back. Sounds super sketchy, right? Yeah, well, it is, as in outright illegal. So I did what I was told to do, right? Number. I explained the situation to the manager and expressed my concern that what he was asking me to do was illegal. He said he'd double check on that. I sent an email up to District Loss Prevention asking about the TV and in theory asking if it would be illegal to do such a return. The LP operator didn't have a chance to go through freight claims to find one specific claim, but said if I processed a return on an item that did not belong to us, the freight claim basically means that the shipping company has bought the TV. It would be considered embezzlement as with processing a return and then getting the freight claim. So yeah, the manager was straight up telling me to commit an illegal action. But word of mouth isn't good enough for defense on its own. In truth, he hadn't actually told me to do the return, just talked about having me do the return and said he would look into it. Well, a week later and the store manager tells me to process the return. I asked about the freight claim and he told me not to worry about that. It's been taken care of. I go to start processing the return. The warehouse manager sees me processing the return and asks about it. When I tell him what the store manager said, he says he hasn't received the paperwork for the cancelled freight claim, meaning the claim was either still waiting, or was already paid. Well, this was a total shift for me as it pretty much solidified the point that the manager had just tried to set me up to be rolled under the bus if this ever came up. The warehouse manager agreed that the only way I was going to process a return on this TV was if we had the cancelled freight claim. And cue the next 10 days where about 2 days the store manager would tell me to do the return. I would ask to see the cancelled freight claim and him saying he would get it to me later. He tells me one more time to do the return. At this point, I am tired of having this conversation, but telling your boss that you're not going to do something they are telling you to do because you think they are trying to embezzle money just isn't going to go well. So I tell him that I'm really busy and what would be really helpful is if he sent me an email about the TV including the SKU number. That way it'll go into my inbox and that'll be a reminder for me. Translation: I want a paper trail that doesn't end at me. I honestly never thought he would actually do it. Well, surprise surprise. He actually sent me the email. I laughed, printed out a copy, took it to the warehouse manager and said, "Hey, check out what the manager just sent me," showing him the email. He read over it and said, "Oh fantastic," took the email and started pulling records. I went back to my office while he sent a lengthy email up to corporate LP. So 10 days later. We haven't heard back from corporate yet. I've been having an annoying day and I decided to head down the line to a bar and grill for lunch. I had just turned to head that way outside the store when I hear, "Hey, my name. How's it going?" I turned to see the district manager and another guy that I didn't recognize next to him. The district manager and I had the same name and had met one another a couple of times over the last 2 years and we kind of looked alike. You know, if you squinted really hard and were blind in one eye, and looked at us underwater with no goggle. I mean, the similarity really ended at both of us being guys, 6 feet tall, heavy set, and had dark brown hair. He got some sort of delight out of the running joke of talking to himself. I humored him normally. No harm in it, right? Well, this time he was that kind of serious casual people get when they're going to do something serious, but not to the person they are talking to right now. The district manager and I shake hands and exchange some pleasantries. He introduces me to the other guy. We'll call him Ricky. It's at this point that I notice Ricky is wearing the gold LP collar pin and my mind starts rolling trying to connect the name with loss prevention. I know the name should mean something. Well, finally it clicks. Ricky was technically the territory loss prevention manager, but he had considerable pull all the way up to the CEO and beyond. He had a history of having worked with the FBI and multiple police departments over the year. I have no idea if the story is true or not, but there was a story about Ricky showing up to a store and the entire management staff being taken out of the store in handcuffs. I tell the district manager it's good saying hi but I'm on my lunch. He gives me a pat on the back and says to enjoy it. He and Ricky head into the store. I proceed down to the bar and grill. I pull out my phone and call the warehouse manager to tell him Ricky just showed up. So I go to lunch, order it, eat it, pay for it, and head back to the store. Something like 25 minutes round trip in total. By the time I got back to the store manager had offered his resignation. The district manager has accepted, and the store manager had left the store. I found out later the store manager was already being investigated for a bunch of company policy issues regarding paperwork and records. The email the warehouse manager had sent suddenly shifted that investigation to a loss prevention investigation. Thank you. Next. I'm on mobile and while English is my first language, I have trouble getting my thoughts in writing, or type in this case. I'll get it down the best that I can. Background. I work at an organization that hires individuals who have learning disabilities and train them to work in the community. I'm one of those people. I have a D. There's the people like me. We are called consumers, and the people who are hired to train and supervise us, we call them job coaches. There are different areas where we can work in, but the only one important to the story is a thrift shop. Cast, me equals 30-year-old woman with a D. A equals fellow consumer, 30-year-old guy with Asperger's syndrome and who is easily agitated. RL equals rude lady. C1 and C2 equals customer 1 and customer 2. TJC equals thrift shop job coach. Main story. This took place yesterday, Tuesday. Every Tuesday morning the job coaches hold a meeting for about an hour. I go into the thrift shop during that time to help AA with running the cash register, because we have a rule that says that we, consumers, are not allowed to run the cash register alone. There were 3 ladies in the shop, C1, C2, and RL. C2 was waiting for TJC to discuss the price of an unmarked item, and C1 and RL were looking at some birdseed bag we had been selling. RL decided that she wanted to buy 2 large bags that we were selling for $5 a piece. RL, can you carry these to the truck for me? Hey, I can do that. Me, points to area in front of register and taking to A. Why don't you put those here until she's done pay for her things? RL, I'm planning on paying. Go ahead and take them out. It's the blue truck just outside. I forget what exactly I said here, but it was something about again paying before taking the item out. RL, if it's going to be that way, then I just won't buy anything then. I ended up ringing her up while A was taking her bird seed to her truck. Between the bags of seed and a few other items, her total was $16. As she was writing a check, A came back in. RL, who is charge of the thrift shop today? Is it TJC or a different job coach? Me, TJC is, but she is in a meeting right? C2, they have been in a meeting for a while. RL, well, I'll be coming back and I'm going to tell TJC about the poor treatment you gave me. At this point C1 and C2 were saying something to RL, but I was so frustrated at this point I don't really remember what they said other than C2 saying something about us just following procedure. RL gives me the check and leaves with the rest of her things. Afterward, C1 was next in line, so I tried to move on and ring her up. I was very agitated, so he went to the back room to try to calm down. She only has a few items, a bag of bird seed and a couple 50-cent items. Her total should have only been $6. Instead, it rang up $20. It turned out that in my frustrated state, not only did I forgot to finish up RL's order, but I rung in C1's order wrong. I had to page TJC into the thrift shop to fix my mistake. While this was going on, I can hear A in the back yelling about the RL, saying things like I don't want to see her ever again. TJC comes in and helps me out by clearing the whole order, putting in RL's order. Luckily she had written a check so we knew the amount, helping me ring up C1, and then I told her everything that had happened, with C1 and C2 vouching for me. Spent most of the day trying to figure out how I could have handled the situation better, but TJC told me that I had done nothing wrong. A later told me that RL called and talked to TJC, but I was moved to a different area after the meeting, part of my usual schedule, but I never found out what was said. Sorry, I didn't mean for this to be so long. Thank you. Next. Obligatory I'm on mobile warning here lol. So I worked summers at a super small pool and hot tub construction business in my hometown that also tested pool water and sold chemicals. On slow days I'd work the lab, the retail floor, the cash register, and the phones all by myself. So a woman comes in to purchase some chemicals, and at the register, she pulls out a few coupons worth about $10 total. All of the coupons expired a week ago, which normally I would accept, but for this particular promotion, management had instructed me to not accept any expired ones. I very politely and apologetically explained this to her. She told me that she totally understood and that it was no problem at all, but that she'd rather wait until she had a discount to buy products. This isn't uncommon for customers to do because pools are incredibly expensive to maintain, so we have frequent seasonal sales. So I take her items, wish her a lovely day, and she goes on her merry way. About 10 minutes later, I receive a call on the main line and answer it. Me, good afternoon, pools and spas. My name is, how may I help you today? Woman, hi. I was in your store earlier and I wanted to complain that your cashier very rudely refused to accept my coupons. I spend a lot of effing money here, and I feel like they should have been honored. Me, completely taken aback, realizing that she doesn't know I also answer the phones and also that we don't have name tags, so there's no way she knows it's me. I'm so sorry to hear that, mom. Unfortunately our cashier doesn't have the authority to accept expired coupons. My manager is currently on a call, but if you give me your name and number, she can call you back in a few minutes to discuss this if you'd like. Woman, you know, your hours are terribly inconvenient for people who work full-time. I couldn't even get here until now. I don't think I'll be coming back here ever again. You've just lost a customer. Abruptly hangs up. Edit. Just for the record, we're open every day of the week for 9 hours, so I DK what she's talking about. Also the coupon was only $10, and if she'd asked me in person or on the phone to speak to my manager absolutely would have just credited $10 to her account lol. Thank you. Next. So I'm working register last weekend. It's fairly busy, but I miraculously have a moment where I don't have a line, when a man, in his 40s or so walks up holding a box of pita chips. Before I can give my canned "Hi, how are you" greeting, he says, "These are expired. You should tell someone these are expired." Me, "Oh, sorry about that. I'll let someone know." Side note, I didn't really mean that. The stock guys are pretty good at watching dates, and if something is past date and on the shelves, it's because the owner is trying to be cheap. Stares at me for a while. Me, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" Well, I mean, can you make me a deal? Me, "What?" Sometimes you guys have a sale on stuff that's out of date. This is true, but we have to have a lot of it and it has to be specially marked and displayed. Me, "I'm sorry, there's no sale that I know of for those. Sure, if you look, there's some chips that aren't expired." Getting pissy, "But you've had a sale on these before. They were $1 then. Can't you just charge me $1? Me, existential sigh, "Hang on." My manager was standing like 3 feet away, so I went ahead and walked over and told him what the guy wanted. My manager looked at me like I had 2 heads and just said no, so I walk back over. Me, "Sorry sir, I asked my manager if he would lower the price and he said number." Like I said, I'm sure the rest of the chips back, they have good dates on them. The man scoffs at me, slams the chips on my belt, and leaves. The kicker was I checked the date on the box and it don't expire until next month. Then the stock guys checked the dates on all the other boxes and they were all fine. Dude just wanted to see what he could get away with, I guess.